Hi there guys, a little while ago I posted a picture on my Instagram of all my guns that you can see in the background here, and I got quite a few questions about how I set them up, rubber diameters, spear thickness, spear lengths, shark fin spears versus notch spears, etc. So one of the questions that came up most was how am I successful across such a big range of guns? So being accurate with such a big range of guns. So one of the things that or what I want to do is I'll do a couple of videos, but this one I'm going to focus on the Pathos grip, because I think for me the Pathos grip has been like a standout part of the gun since the very first time I picked it up. So yeah, you can see, so these are my guns. You can see that there's quite a big range of guns, from a 115 sniper roller to an 80 single band gun, and I can use the lot, and I'm very successful with all of them. So I think just to start, you can I do use the universal grip on all of them, except that's aluminium 1.1 with two 16mm bands on that I use for shore diving, but otherwise everything else is a universal grip, and it's a standard grip with all the Pathos roller guns. So to start with, the first thing about the Pathos grip is just how it fits in your hand. The trigger is in the exact right place. I think it makes a huge difference when your hand has a really good solid surface area over the grip, and my finger is basically fully extended and it sits on the trigger exactly where it needs to be. I think that for me has been one of the big standout points. The other thing too is this angle here is absolutely perfect. So that will give your hand this sort of position, and yeah, that's key. Like there's no strain involved. And the final thing with the actual grip is this part here. So basically when I grab a gun, no matter which gun I pick up, my hand's in the exact same place every time. It can't shift down or in any other place. It just gets locked in there all the time. So this for me is invaluable. So that is three basic pointers that I think make the grip exceptional. I think it's also worth mentioning that Pathos also just do so much R&D in their guns before they present it to the market, that it's like perfectly balanced. It's got the right bands on at the correct load, with the correct thickness spear, with the correct ballasting. So it really, changing from gun to gun almost makes no difference. So what I'm going to do is I've taken a cassette out of a grip, and there's a few items I want to show you there, and there's a few things there that I think also add a lot of value. Okay, so that's the That's the Pathos cassette. I've taken the sear out. That's the swivel point there, that pin in there. Essentially how this works is with a spear in the cassette like that, obviously it hooks on that locating point. This here is like the friction face between the trigger and the sear. So when you pull the trigger, this drops away, releasing the spear. So when the spear's in the cassette, it sits like that. So there's 2 or 3 things that jump out at me here. So firstly, I think it's pretty clear to understand that the more load, the more bands you put on here, the greater the force on the spear puts onto the sear. And I think that this plays a big part in how the load is managed in the range of guns. So the first thing is this distance from this locating point to the swivel point is very close. It's 5 millimeters, and when you've got the load so close to the swivel point, it transfers very little change in force onto this mating face or this friction point here. So as you're increasing the load, so you're going from a single band gun to a sniper roller, the amount of force or the change in the amount of force on here, I think, is very little. The second thing is the distance from this locating point here to this friction point, which is 40 mil. This distance here almost creates like a leverage effect. So the equivalent of like trying to loosen a nut or a tight nut on a bolt, and you're using a short spanner, it's very difficult to loosen the nut. But if you put a length of pipe on that spanner, it's very easy to loosen. So I think this distance here of 40 mils helps in reducing that change in load that is felt on the trigger. And again, also this distance here from this trigger swivel point down, that obviously also will have an influence on how the change in the load on the spear is, that change is negligible on the trigger. I've had lots of experience with playing with trigger and the effect that a big load has on a trigger. So the harder the trigger is to pull, the more erratic the gun is. So as you're loading up rubbers, so your accuracy just goes. So I think that's how like Pathos has taken all these small advantages and turned it into like a real like a product that really works well. So yeah, thanks for watching. Yeah, I'll do a couple of other videos with regards to how I set the bands up, etc. I do lots and lots of pull testing to see how things work, not necessarily trying to get accurate, but just to see how things work and how to improve the gear. So yeah, thanks.